Hello. Good evening to all the viewers of Host of Fear. How are you all doing? Have you been sleeping well at night? Because after today's story, maybe that will change completely. For today's video, we bring you the terrifying story known as the Sewer Legend. Now I want you to grab your best headphones, turn off the lights, lock your bedroom door, and enjoy another chilling story on the most haunted channel on YouTube. When I was a child, one of the legends that scared me the most was the one about monsters living inside the sewers. Because if you stop to think about it, the sewer system is everywhere. Beneath us, around us, sometimes even close to the surface through storm drains, creeks, tunnels, and manholes. My fear always felt irrational because monsters are not real. At least that's what people keep saying. But a few days ago, while wasting time on the internet late at night, I came across a website filled with random photographs. One of those pictures showed some kind of creature inside a sewer tunnel. The image had supposedly been taken from a video recording, so I clicked on it and watched more carefully. The thing looked almost human, but its skin was completely cracked apart, dry and broken like old concrete. There were patches of hair growing unevenly across certain parts of its body. At first, I thought it was interesting. Then I convinced myself it had to be fake. Some kind of edited footage made with graphics software. There was no way something like that could actually exist in real life. The following weekend, one of my friends came over to sleep at my house. I mentioned the video to him and showed it on my computer. He sat beside me, staring at the screen, and then looked at me with that stupid expression that somehow clearly meant, "I think we should go check if this thing is real." I still don't know how his idiot face managed to say all of that without speaking a single word. But somehow it did. It was around 6 in the evening when we walked down my street toward a nearly abandoned avenue. We crossed over a bridge, passed by a small dirty bar, and finally reached an alleyway where an old metal fence blocked the entrance to a sewer gallery. One side of the fence had been bent open, probably by drug addicts who used the place to hide and smoke. The moment we crawled under the fence and got closer to the sewer entrance, I instantly wanted to give up and leave. The smell was unbearable. Pure sewage mixed with every disgusting odor imaginable, forming a thick greenish mist that floated through the air. It didn't feel natural at all. Right there, I realized that entering that place was a horrible idea, and continuing to follow my friend was even worse. But he already had one foot inside the sewer tunnel and the other sinking into the mud. Honestly, exploring a sewer at night was not exactly the smartest thing to do on a Saturday evening. Within seconds, I had already climbed back over the fence and was walking toward the street when my friend suddenly started jumping around and yelling insults at me in a mocking sing-song voice. Those nicknames are a very long story. But the important thing is that my friend really was an idiot. As I was leaving the alley, I suddenly heard the loud, metallic sound of iron scraping against concrete. Right after that, he shouted my name. He had found a manhole that led even deeper underground. He had already removed the heavy cover and was preparing to climb down into the darkness below. I stood there on the sidewalk, impatient and annoyed, yelling for him to come back home with me and stop acting like a complete moron. Across the street, I noticed Ingrid, one of the hottest girls at my school. I watched her walking toward the local convenience store. I always loved the way she walked. And during those few distracted seconds while staring at her, my friend disappeared. When I turned around again, he was gone. Even with the thick greenish mist filling the alley, I could still clearly see the area around the sewer entrance. But he simply wasn't there anymore. I slowly walked back toward the open manhole and looked down. already convinced I wouldn't be able to see anything because it was getting dark outside. But what I saw inside that hole was something so surreal and horrifying that I still struggle to describe it. Not only because of the violence of the scene itself, but because my childhood fears had suddenly become real. As my eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness, I saw a creature. It looked like some kind of short man, incredibly thin, with skin that appeared torn apart and rotting. Certain parts of its body were covered with scales, and it was devouring my friend. I only recognized him because of his clothes, because most of his head and both his arms were already gone. From what I could tell, he had been eaten alive, starting with the skull first. That explained why I never heard him screaming. And at that exact moment, the creature was trying to tear off what remained of one of his arms. And there I stood, staring at the scene like someone watching a dog chewing on a bone. Because deep down, I think I always knew something like that existed. I had simply spent my entire life refusing to believe it. I slowly stepped away from the edge of the manhole, trying not to throw up, but my foot accidentally hit the massive iron cover lying nearby. That was when the creature noticed me. It violently turned its head and stared directly into my eyes, with those horrifying yellow eyes glowing in the darkness. Its mouth was covered with blood and pieces of flesh. My heart nearly exploded out of my chest when it suddenly jumped upward, stretching one of its arms toward me. But thankfully, the shaft was too high for it to reach the surface. The heavy iron cover lying beside me looked almost impossible to move. And it truly was. I dragged it across the ground toward the opening, while the creature screamed in pure rage beneath me. The sound it made reminded me of a zombie screaming, though, honestly, I can't say for sure. Maybe it was simply furious because it realized it would not get the chance to devour me too. I slammed the manhole shut and ran away as fast as I could. My friend was gone, left behind forever in that underground nightmare. And now I would somehow have to invent an excuse to explain why he would never return home again. Not to my parents, and certainly not to his. I'm writing down this true urban legend as a warning to everyone who hears it. Be careful, because there are countless manholes spread throughout every city, and maybe some of them should never, ever be opened.